Welcome to the Introduction to Criminal Liability, Legal Research, Breaking a Crime into Elements. Couple disclaimer, if you haven't read this already, go ahead and hit pause, read it now. This program is just an introduction to the law, specifically Maryland and the United States federal law. Alright, so you found the statute, now what? So as we discussed last time, you go to the CJIS manual, you find whatever crime you're looking for, and it will point you back to the source if you want to know more. So let's say the source is a statute, it's in the criminal article, you go to either Westlaw, Lexis, or the Maryland General Assembly website, you find the statute, now what? When you're analyzing a crime, you need to break the crime down to its fundamental parts. In law, we refer to these parts as elements. They're basically a checklist of things that need to have happened in order for a crime to exist. So you go down the checklist, if you check everything off, there's a crime. If anything is missing, there's no crime. Think about it like this. What are the elements of a square? Think about it a second. Well, the first thing is it needs to be a two-dimensional object. So the box is out, but we also know the triangle and whatever weird octopus thing that is are not squares. So we need more elements. Alright, well it has to have four straight sides. Good, so the triangle's out, the pot of water is out, the weird squiggly octopus thing is out. But we know that's a rectangle, not a square on the side. So we need more elements. Well, the sides have to be equal length. So the rectangle's out, but what about this parallelogram over here? We know that's not a square, so we need more elements. The sides have to meet at 90-degree angles. Well, finally we get rid of the parallelogram. Is this thing on the right a square? Well, it's a two-dimensional object. It has four straight sides. The sides are equal in length. The sides meet at 90-degree angles. Therefore, it's a square. With a crime, you do the same thing. You go down every element, and if they all check out, then the crime has been committed. So let's look at this box here. Which rule does it violate? Well, it's a three-dimensional object. Therefore, it cannot be a square. How about the parallelogram? Which rule does the parallelogram violate? The sides don't meet at 90-degree angles, so it's not a square. How about the rectangle? Well, the rectangle does not have sides that are equal length, therefore it's not a square. Same thing, when you break a crime down to its elements, any fact pattern that doesn't meet those elements does not violate that crime. So let's suppose we had a crime whose elements were intentionally wearing white after Labor Day. Bob is wearing white pants on the 4th of July. Did he break this law? Well, let's go through the elements. Did he do it intentionally? Well, we're really not sure, so maybe? Was he wearing white? He was definitely wearing white. Was it after Labor Day? No, it was not after Labor Day. This was on the 4th of July. So therefore, he did not break the law. Bob is wearing white pants on the 4th of October, but he thought he was wearing blue jeans. Did he break the law? Well, it was after Labor Day, 4th of October. He was wearing white, but he did not do it intentionally. It was an accident. Therefore, he did not break the law. So what makes up an element? How do you decide what the elements are? Well, each element should point to something that will need to be proven later in order to show that a crime was committed. Now, deciding what makes up an element, everyone has different opinions on how to do it, and it's sort of like math. There are different ways to get from one place to another with the same result. Of course, like math, there are also more efficient ways than others. I personally prefer to use a text editor. I just copy and paste it, and then I make little carriage returns as necessary. So let's look at Criminal Law 10-502. By the way, you'll see criminal law as CR, and you'll also see it as CL. Just realize that both of those are criminal law. 10-502. While lawfully married to a living person, a person may not enter into a marriage ceremony with another. So this is the crime of bigamy. What are the elements? Think about it. Well, as you can see, what I did, I copied and pasted the text of the statute. While lawfully married to a living person, a person may not enter into a marriage ceremony with another. And all I do is, as I'm reading over it, I go through and I figure out what each individual piece of the puzzle is. You're not going to have while lawfully married to, you're not going to make each of these separate elements. What you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to figure out what are the pieces, what are the whole pieces of this puzzle. And they are, all right, you have to be lawfully married, the person you're married to has to be alive, and you have to enter into a marriage ceremony with someone else. And I can either make that 2 elements or 1, either way. And all I do is I just hit enter every time there's a new element. While lawfully married to a living person may not enter into a marriage ceremony with another. Done. Now, if you want to clean it up a bit, you can add in the dependencies, like if you're doing a dependent clause or something like that, just to make it look better. But basically, the way you end up is you have to be lawfully married to a living person, enter into a marriage ceremony with somebody who's not your spouse. And those are the elements of that crime. Lawfully married, spouse is alive, marriage ceremony, someone other than your spouse, bam, guilty, bigamy. So, John and Jess get drunk and have an Elvis impersonator, licensed by the state to conduct marriage ceremonies, conduct a wedding ceremony in front of a crowd at a bar. 3 months later, John receives a wedding license to marry Jess's sister, Mary. They go to the same Elvis impersonator and are married in front of a crowd. Jess gets mad and calls the police. Can the police arrest John? What information would they need? Well, let's think about what the elements of our crime were. Lawfully married, spouse is alive, marriage ceremony with another. So, John and Jess get drunk and have an Elvis impersonator, licensed by the state, conduct a wedding ceremony in front of a crowd at a bar. So, were John and Jess originally lawfully married? Well, maybe. We need to know, did they have a license? We knew that the Elvis impersonator did, but did they have a license? And were they supposed to? Was the spouse alive? Well, she called the police, so we're going to say yes. Spouse is alive. Did he enter into a marriage ceremony? Yes. He entered into a marriage ceremony, same Elvis impersonator, they're married in front of a crowd. Jess's sister and him. And the ceremony is with someone other than his spouse. Yep, is with his spouse's sister, so that's not good. So, in order to figure out if they were lawfully married or not, we need to know if John and Jess, when they originally got married, got a license. Alright, let's look at CR 6-402, Trespass. A person may not enter or trespass on property that is posted conspicuously against trespass by signs placed where they reasonably may be seen. So, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy this into my text editor, and I'm going to go ahead and just make little hit enter every time I have a new thing. So, a person. We're not worried about a person. Obviously, we're not charging puppies with the crime, so we can just sort of forget about that part. All right, yep. A person may not enter or trespass. Okay. Enter or trespass on property is posted conspicuously against trespass by signs placed where they reasonably may be seen. So a person may not enter or trespass on property. That property is posted against trespass, and it's posted conspicuously by signs placed where they reasonably may be seen. So you're going to want to be careful putting things in your own words. Make sure that you're getting everything exact, otherwise you might come up with an issue later. But in this case, pretty sure this is what those words mean. So let's apply the statute. Frank is sitting on a set of steps when he's approached by the police. The police officer points to a small note on the front door of the house that asks people not to sit on the steps. If Frank says that he didn't see the note, can he still be arrested for trespassing? Well, let's look at our elements. Did he enter or trespass on property? Was the property posted against trespass? Was that posting conspicuous? Were signs placed where they reasonably may be seen? Now, it does appear that he trespassed. He was on the property. Was the property posted against trespass? Yes, it was. And was the posting against trespass conspicuous? Was it placed where it reasonably may be seen? And the answer here is no. It was just a small note on the door, and it is not reasonable to think that anyone entering on the property is immediately going to see that. So therefore, he did not violate the trespass law. That's it for now. Tune in next time for the types of elements, and we're going to look at upping our crossword game with legal Latin.